Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're exploring a document that caught my eye because, well, it's not your typical magical instruction manual. It's called The Four Angels of Prostitution, and it comes from the Temple of Ascending Flame.
Yeah.
Now, before you think we've taken a wrong turn into some adult territory, this is about how ancient magic and mythology view sexuality in a completely different light.
Yeah. That's right. We're stepping outside of modern judgments here.
Okay.
This document wants us to think about sacred prostitution, and I know even that phrase is lauded.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding it within the context of Kabbalistic lore.
Okay.
Specifically, its shadow side, known as the Qliphoth. Imagine it like a hidden, often feared aspect of reality that exists alongside the more familiar world.
Okay, so we're going deep, shadow side and all.
Yeah.
But who are these four angels, and what does prostitution have to do with any of this?
The document focuses on Lilith, Nama, Agrat-Bat Malat, and Aishith Zenunim.
Okay.
Now, in traditional Kabbalistic thought, these figures are linked to Samau, a powerful demonic entity. They're often seen as succubi, which, to put it delicately, are beings associated with seduction and temptation.
So not exactly figures you'd invite over for tea and biscuits.
Not in the traditional sense, no.
Okay.
But this document reinterprets their roles. Instead of fearing them, it encourages us to view them as guides to something called sexual gnosis. Think of it as a type of mystical knowledge or initiation that can be accessed through sexuality.
So not evil temptresses, but more like teachers.
Yeah.
But teachers of what exactly?
That's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The document suggests that these figures and the practices associated with them can help us unlock personal power and achieve profound transformation, all through harnessing sexual energy.
Okay, so we've got these powerful figures, but how does it all work practically? Is this where the prostitution part comes in?
Well, the document doesn't advocate for literal prostitution, but rather uses the term metaphorically. It's about exchanging energy, offering something of yourself, in this case, sexual energy, to connect with these figures and tap into their power.
So it's more about a personal, ritualistic practice.
Exactly.
Okay.
The document outlines a 6-day magical working centered around these four goddesses.
Okay.
And it's pretty intense, involving specific invocations, visualizations, and yes, even sexual practices.
Okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Walk me through this 6-day working.
Sure.
What does it actually entail?
Before you even begin, you create what's called a statement of will. It's basically your magical goal, the change you want to manifest in your life.
Okay.
Then over the 6 days, you work with each of the goddesses individually, using specific invocations and visualizations to empower your statement.
Okay.
And as we mentioned, there are also sexual practices woven into the process.
I'm already sensing a journey here, a progression through these different figures.
You're right on track.
Okay.
Each day focuses on a different goddess, and each has her own unique energy and role to play in this journey.
Right.
It's like peeling back layers of reality and delving deeper into this shadow realm with each step.
All right, so let's start with Lilith.
Okay.
What's her role in all of this? I mean, she's often portrayed as this rebellious, even dangerous figure.
Exactly, and the document plays on that.
Okay.
It describes her as the first mother, a primal force who resides in the depths of our unconscious.
Right.
You invoke her to awaken that primal energy within yourself, to tap into your raw instinctual power.
So it's not about worshiping her literally.
Right.
But more about connecting with that archetype within ourselves.
Precisely. Think of it as a psychological exploration as much as a magical one. You're using these figures as lenses to examine different parts of yourself.
Okay, so we've invoked Lilith, the first mother. Where do we go from there? Who's next on this journey?
Next comes Nama, who is associated with pleasure, desire, and creativity.
Right.
The document describes her as the one who opens the gates to the Qliphoth, allowing you to step through the veil of ordinary reality and into this hidden realm.
So if Lilith awakens our primal power, Nama is the key that unlocks the door to this deeper exploration.
Exactly. And the imagery used in her invocation is fascinating.
Okay.
It talks about standing at the gate to the Qliphoth, visualized as a vulva-shaped entrance to a dark cave with Nama as your guide.
Wow. That's powerful imagery.
Yeah.
You're not just working with abstract concepts here.
Mm-hmm.
You're embodying them.
Right.
Experiencing them on a visceral level.
That's the point.
Okay.
This practice is designed to be immersive, to engage all of your senses and pull you out of your comfort zone.
So we've stepped through the gate with Nama,
right,
who awaits us on the other side.
A Grut Bat Malat,
Prime.
A figure associated with duality and the crossing of boundaries. She's described as the roof dancer, residing between worlds, comfortable in the liminal spaces.
So if Lilith is the primal power and Nama opens the gate, Agrat is the one who helps us navigate this unfamiliar territory.
Exactly. And her invocation is equally evocative.
Yeah?
It describes her as adorned with snakes and scorpions, guiding you through a tunnel of living flesh that leads to the heart of the cliff off.
Okay, that's definitely not your average meditation.
Definitely not.
Right.
But remember, we're talking about exploring the shadow side here. It's meant to be intense, to challenge our preconceived notions of good and evil, light and dark.
All right, so we've journeyed with Lilith, Nama, and Agrat. Who's the final figure in this quartet?
The last goddess is Asenath Zenunum.
Okay.
And she is perhaps the most complex and challenging of the four. She's often associated with taboo desires and the untamed aspects of feminine power.
So if the other goddesses are about unlocking power and navigating the shadow realm, what's Asenath's role? What does she represent in this working?
That's where things get really interesting, and we'll pick up in the next part of this deep dive.
All right, listeners, you heard it here. We're about to delve into the final stage of this intense magical working.
Right.
And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned as we uncover the mysteries of Asenath Zenunum and what she has to teach us about the power of the shadow self.
Okay. Welcome back. We left off with Asenath Zenunum, the final figure in this potent magical working.
Yeah.
Remember, we've already journeyed with Lilith, the primal power, Nama, who opened the gates, and Agrat, our guide through the shadows.
Okay.
So where does Asenath fit into all of this?
Yeah, you mentioned she's associated with taboo desires and untamed feminine power.
Yeah.
That definitely piques my curiosity.
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
We've awakened the primal force within, Lilith, stepped into the shadow realm, Nama, and navigated its depths, Agrat. Now with Asenath, we're confronting those parts of ourselves that we often try to repress or deny.
Okay, so it's getting even deeper.
Yeah.
Going beyond just understanding these figures to actually facing those hidden aspects within ourselves.
Exactly. And the document suggests that by doing so, we can tap into a tremendous source of personal power.
Okay.
It's about reclaiming those parts of ourselves that society often deems unacceptable and integrating them into a more holistic sense of who we are.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how does this all play out in the actual working? What's involved in connecting with Asenath?
The document describes her as a figure of both allure and danger, adorned with snakes, and holding a chalice filled with a potent elixir.
Right.
Her invocation is highly sensual, inviting you to surrender to her embrace, both physically and energetically.
So this is where the sexual practices we talked about earlier really come into play.
Yes, but it's important to remember that it's not about physical pleasure for its own sake.
Right.
The sexual energy is a tool, a way to connect with and embody these archetypal energies.
So it's more about a symbolic or ritualistic act.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the document stresses that this isn't about forcing anything or engaging in practices that feel harmful or violating. It's about exploring your own boundaries and finding a way to work with these energies that feels safe and empowering.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Especially given the sensitive nature of this material. But let's go back to the actual working.
Okay.
We've connected with each of the four goddesses individually.
Right.
What happens next?
Well,
how does this 6-day process culminate?
The final day is dedicated to a ritual called the Ritual of the Four Angels of Prostitution.
Okay.
And again, that term is meant to be provocative, challenging us to rethink our assumptions about sexuality and power.
So what does this grand finale entail?
You start by visualizing your statement of will, that goal you set at the beginning.
Right.
But now it's infused with all the energy and insights you've gained through working with each goddess.
So it's like you're weaving those individual experiences together into a final, powerful intention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you invoke all 4 goddesses simultaneously,
Right.
drawing on their combined energy to fuel your will. The document offers several ways to do this.
Okay.
Reciting their previous invocations, speaking spontaneously,
Right.
or even composing your own personal invocation. It encourages you to find what feels most potent and authentic for you.
I love that element of personal expression within this structured framework. It's not just about blindly following instructions,
Right.
but about finding your own unique way to connect with these energies.
Right.
Okay. Then you drink from the chalice, now filled with red wine,
Right.
which represents the shared essence of these goddesses and symbolizes a kind of communion with them.
Okay.
And then you enter what the document calls a sexual trance, allowing yourself to fully experience the combined power of the 4 figures.
Okay, I have to ask, what exactly does that involve? It's a pretty evocative phrase.
The specifics are left open to an interpretation,
Right.
encouraging you to follow your intuition and find what feels right for you.
Okay.
The key is to surrender to the energy, to allow yourself to be moved by it without judgment or fear.
So it's about finding a way to express that energy,
Right.
whether through physical movement, visualization, or even just a deep emotional surrender.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the document stresses that there's no right or wrong way to do this.
It's about finding what works for you and what helps you connect with the energies at play.
It sounds incredibly powerful to tap into that level of intensity and release.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what happens after this sexual trance.
Well,
How does the working actually conclude?
Well, the document emphasizes the importance of directing that energy towards manifestation.
Yeah.
It encourages you to visualize your will as a seed being planted in fertile ground, ready to sprout and grow into reality.
So you're not just releasing energy,
Yeah.
you're channeling it towards a specific goal, a tangible outcome.
Exactly, and that's where the real magic happens. The document suggests that by combining focused intention with powerful energy,
Right.
you're essentially launching your will into the universe, setting the wheels in motion for it to manifest in your life.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. You're not just summoning these figures for kicks.
Right.
You're working with them to achieve a specific goal, to transform something within yourself or your reality.
Precisely. And while the document focuses on the magical aspects,
Right.
it also hints at a deeper psychological meaning.
Now, that's what I'm really curious about. We've talked a lot about the how of this working.
Right.
But what about the why?
Yeah.
What's the deeper significance of engaging with these figures and practices?
That's where it gets truly fascinating.
Okay.
Remember how I mentioned these figures can be seen as archetypes representing different parts of ourselves?
Right.
Well, this entire working can be interpreted as a journey of self-discovery, a confrontation with our shadow selves, and ultimately a reclamation of our personal power.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Break it down for me.
Okay.
How does this 6-day working actually relate to our psychology?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Each goddess represents a different aspect of the feminine psyche, both light and shadow.
Right.
Lilith embodies the primal, instinctual self. Nama, the creative and sensual. Agrat, the boundary crosser.
Right.
The one comfortable with ambiguity.
Okay.
And Aishith, the taboo.
Yeah.
The wild, the untamed.
So it's not about literally summoning demons,
Right.
but about exploring those different facets within ourselves.
Exactly. And the sexual practices, while they might seem shocking on the surface,
Why?
can be seen as a way of embodying and integrating those energies. It's about reclaiming those parts of ourselves that we often try to suppress or deny,
Right.
especially in a society that often demonizes female sexuality and power.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just about magic for magic's sake,
Right.
but about using these practices as a tool for self-exploration and growth.
Precisely. And this resonates with what Carl Jung called shadow work. By confronting those aspects of ourselves that we deem unacceptable or dark,
Right.
we can actually integrate them into a more whole and balanced personality.
Wow. That's a powerful connection.
Yeah.
So this seemingly intense and maybe even scary magical working can actually be a pathway to greater self-awareness and personal empowerment.
Exactly. And that's what makes this document so fascinating. It's not just a set of instructions, but a map for a profound psychological journey.
This is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So we've explored the practical aspects of this working, the symbolism of the four goddesses.
Yeah.
And now this connection to Jungian shadow work.
Right.
Is there anything else we need to unpack before we wrap up this deep dive?
There's one more crucial piece to consider,
Okay.
and that's the potential risks and challenges involved in this type of work. It's not something to be taken lightly.
Right.
We'll explore those next.
All right, listeners.
Yeah.
We're about to delve into the potential pitfalls of this powerful practice. Stay with us as we explore the shadow side of the shadow work. We've been exploring this intense 6-day working with the four angels. And it's clear this practice is more than just a ritual. It's a deep dive into our own psyches, a confrontation with our shadow selves.
Yeah.
But as fascinating as it is, you mentioned there are potential risks involved.
Absolutely. This document itself emphasizes that working with these energies is potent and not always in a comfortable way.
Right.
It's like opening a door to a hidden room.
Yeah.
You might not like what you find at first.
So it's not just about the excitement of exploring the forbidden or seeking power.
Not at all.
Okay.
Imagine trying to integrate those parts of yourself you've been taught to reject.
Right.
Maybe anger, jealousy, or desires society labels wrong.
Right.
That can be unsettling, even overwhelming if you're not prepared.
It makes sense. It's like even if these figures are archetypes and not literal demons, we're still dealing with some heavy psychological stuff here.
Right. The document stresses the importance of grounding, protection, and purification practices throughout. It's not about suppressing those shadow aspects, but creating a safe space to encounter them.
Okay.
Think of it like having a therapist with you as you explore those difficult emotions.
So it's not a DIY project for beginners?
Definitely not.
Okay.
The document even advises seeking guidance from experienced practitioners if you're new to this type of work.
Right.
There's a real risk of misinterpreting it, getting fixated on the sexual elements without the deeper psychological work, which could be harmful.
That's a good point. It's easy to see how someone might be drawn to the more sensational aspects without understanding the full context.
And remember, this document is just one perspective within a much larger tradition. There are many other paths that explore the intersection of magic and sexuality, some safer than others. It's crucial to do your research and not jump into anything that feels off or unsafe.
It sounds like a lot of responsibility comes with this kind of exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. And the document acknowledges that it reminds us that we're not in control of these forces, but rather engaging in a relationship with them.
Okay.
It's a delicate dance, drawing on their power while respecting our own boundaries.
You've used that word respect a few times now.
Yeah.
Why is that so important in this context?
Because we're dealing with energies and archetypes that tap into deep parts of the human psyche, including the shadow.
Yeah.
Approaching this with arrogance or a sense of entitlement can backfire.
Right.
It's about humility.
Okay.
Recognizing that we're not mastering these forces, but learning from them.
That's a humbling thought.
Yeah.
So it's about approaching this work with reverence, caution, and a willingness to learn.
Right.
Not just to get what we want.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the power of these energies, but also our own limitations.
Right.
The document doesn't shy away from the potential for things to go wrong, for these forces to become overwhelming if we're not careful.
So it's not a journey for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. But for those who are prepared to do the work, to face their shadows with courage and humility. This practice offers a path to profound transformation.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
Yeah.
We've gone from a document that seemed, honestly, a bit shocking at first to uncovering layers of symbolism, psychology, and even ethical considerations.
Right.
What are some key takeaways you hope our listener is walking away with?
Firstly, that even seemingly provocative practices can have deep meaning when we understand their context.
Right.
Secondly, that exploring our shadow isn't about becoming bad, but about integrating all parts of ourselves.
Okay.
And finally, that power, especially in this realm, comes with responsibility.
Well said. It's a reminder that true self-discovery isn't always comfortable, but it's always worthwhile. And for our listener, if this document sparked your interest, remember, we'll have a link to it in the show notes.
But before you dive in,
Right.
Do your research and be honest with yourself about your motivations and whether you're truly prepared for this kind of journey.
Excellent advice. No. This deep dive has been a wild ride.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree, listener. Until next time, stay curious, but stay safe.